Now, the first speaker that you're going to hear from is Om. Om, stand up. Wave to everybody. I'm not going to tell you too much about Om other than he works in a gaming company. And is it next May? Your book is coming out? Yeah. All right. So, we have a famous author here. He's doing a book about gaming. Our other speaker is Joseph and his wife Stacy. Where's Stacy? Don't hide yourself. It's going to be, they're a fantastic couple, you know. They work together as a team. We were very lucky. How many of you came to our event at the Science Gallery last year when they came and gave a talk? Okay, so we have a fresh audience. That was a very popular event, so we were lucky that Joseph, when are you going back to the States? Okay, so we were lucky enough to fit them in. And Joseph he's a fellow of IBM, right? Okay. But anyway, he's been in IT for 30 years. But they also have a very successful voice consultancy company, and they build a whole bunch of stuff. And you'll see how much of a domain expert he is. So I'm not going to labor any more conversations other than pass the mic and the presentation to Om. So could you guys give a big hand to Om, please?
Thanks, Manoj. Well, thanks a lot for coming for this event. And as we saw, the name of the presentation is quite long. Hopefully, the presentation itself won't be that long, if you bear with me. Yeah, it should be a long. Good evening, all of you once again, and thanks for coming to Designing Mobile Gaming Platform using Behavior and Neuroscience. Before we proceed, a bit of introduction about me. I'm Om Tandon. I'm currently working as Director of UX at Digit Games Dublin. It's one of the Ireland's biggest independent game studio. I've been in the gaming industry for over 14 years, and I've had the opportunity to work on some of the world's best brands and IPs. Some of them include Ice Age from 20th Century Fox, Disney's Car, My Little Pony from Hasbro, Wizard of Oz, to name a few. In the last 14 years, when we talk about, let's say, online gaming, I worked across different platforms, which includes PC, console like Xbox and PS4, casino machines, and last 5 years I've been especially in mobile domain. As far as my education goes, I have a bachelor's in economics honors and a master's in advertising and graphics. I've also been fortunate to be part of Y Combinator 2011 batch. For those of you who don't know Y Combinator, it's one of the world's leading incubator, and it has incubated companies like Airbnb and Dropbox, to name a few. Bit of a globetrotter as well, and as you can see, I've worked all the way from the heart of Silicon Valley in SF to extremes of New Zealand. My wife doesn't like that because we keep moving every 3 years, but well. So anyways, that's enough about me. Let's get into the good stuff. So I'm assuming a lot of you today either are not from gaming industry or have an interest in gaming industry or are gamers themselves, right? So you must be always wondering, what is it like, making games? Of course, it's fun playing games. Is it that much fun making it? The short answer is no. We'll discover. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to show you guys some stats to give you an idea of what gaming industry is from a commercial point of view, right? And as of 2018, the global games market is on track to produce $137.9 billion in revenue. And this revenue figure is divided across different verticals, as you can see. There's mobile, there's PC, there's browser gaming, console gaming, and roughly half of it is $70.3 billion coming directly from mobile. Now that's not a surprise, right? Everybody literally has a smartphone or a smart tablet, which is right now one of the most powerful computing devices. But let's try to put this figure in perspective, this figure of $137.9 million, by comparing it with Hollywood. Now, throughout this presentation, I'm going to try and compare the gaming industry with Hollywood or cinema. And the reason for that is we are both entertainment, right? For example, cinema is entertainment, but it's more of a linear entertainment. You start a movie, you sit through it, and it ends. The only interaction that a user has or a viewer has with the movie is watching it. But when you're talking about games, we are more of an interactive entertainment. Because based on the decisions you can take within the gaming world, the outcomes decide. So, as per this graph, Hollywood is on track to create or produce $44 billion in revenue this year. And here's an interesting fact. Games industry right now generates twice more than Hollywood, HBO, and Netflix, their revenue combined. That is the power of interactive entertainment. And if you ask me, who are the people playing these kind of games? So from the statistics that we have, we can see that roughly there's a fair distribution between men and women. There are almost equal number of men and women playing digital games. And if you talk about age group, we know that everybody from 2 years old to 50 years old is playing some kind of online or digital game. And let's talk about children who were born after year 2007, right? The era of digital games or mobile tablets. It's a common pattern. As soon as they're 6 months old or maybe even younger, parents start giving their tablets to these kids to keep them engaged. So in fact, there's a whole generation which would have started playing online games way before anyone in this room. And that's like a big opportunity. So in our stats, and let's now talk about games and how do we divide games and gamers. So as I spoke earlier, games can be on different platforms, especially online games, PC, mobile, console. But games also have different genres, just like cinema, just like movies, right? Movies, you can have action movies, thrillers, rom-coms, comedies, horror. Same way, we divide games into role-playing games, massively multiplayer online games, puzzle games, racing games, combat games. But the point I'm trying to make is it doesn't matter which genre a game belongs to or which platform it is published on. Within gaming industry, we have a simple system. We divide games into 3 categories, and it doesn't matter which genre it belongs to, which platform it's published on, it will fall into one of those buckets. So let's see what these buckets are. So the way we divide games they're called casual, mid-core, and hardcore, which is a reflection of the amount of time a player needs to spend in the game and the skill he needs to develop to master it. So this distinction is not just reflecting on the nature of the game or the product, it's also a reflection of the demographics. So I'll give a brief introduction of what this means. So let's start with casual games. The screenshot that you see, it is from a very popular casual game called Candy Crush Saga. Have you guys heard of it or played that game? Yeah, I'm pretty sure you must have heard of it. So this is a very big casual game. It came out in 2011 and it is estimated that this game makes anywhere between $8 to $10 million on a daily basis. That's a daily figure, not a weekly or a monthly figure. So you can see that if you get it right, what a big opportunity it is. So when we're talking about casual gamers, they are the kind of people who only play games when an opportunity presents itself. By that what I mean is, it's not like they wake up in the morning and they say, I'm going to play a game today. No, that doesn't happen. They only play when an opportunity presents itself, and that opportunity could be while commuting, going back and forth from work or school, washroom break, lunchroom break, or maybe just going to bed before sleeping. Now for that very reason, we have to ensure that one gameplay session of a casual game is between 60 to 90 seconds. We call it snackable game because that is the only way we can fit it in these small breaks. Now, if we talk about mid-core gamers, this is the second bucket or second category the games belong to. Mid-core games are slightly more complex. There's a whole lot more to do because there's a lot of management that player has to do. Mid-core gamers are slightly different. They like to play games on a daily basis, but the way they do it is they try to manage their gaming time around their daily schedule. That is, they try to slot in 5 minutes, 10 minutes consciously into their daily routine. And for this reason, the play session time is between 2 to 5 minutes because the games can be quite complex or more complex than casual games. Third bucket that a game belongs to is called hardcore games. Now, hardcore games are generally PC games or console games because they are way more complex compared to casual or mid-core. And a hardcore gamer is a pure gamer. They are spending anywhere between 2 hours to 6 hours a day playing games, right? So the way they manage it is they manage their daily schedule around their gaming time. So you can see the difference. A casual player will only play a game when an opportunity presents itself. A mid-core gamer manages his gaming time around his daily schedule, but a hardcore gamer will manage his daily schedule around his gaming time. And of course, they play it after work, in living room, or in evenings because they require that kind of focus. So there's another metaphorical way to look at how casual, mid-core, and hardcore games can be represented. And this is based on learning curve difficulty and barrier to entry for players. What I mean by that is the amount of time a player needs to spend playing the game and the skill that he needs to develop to master it. So imagine if you are a mountaineer and you are trying to climb a casual game peak. You can see that it's quite short. You will get there eventually. But as we start moving towards mid-core and hardcore, you can see that the peaks are becoming steeper. Reason being, the learning curve difficulty and barrier is going up. So, moving on, let's now talk about anatomy of games. Now, what I mean by anatomy of games. Another perception is when you're playing a game, it's all animated, it's all fun, you have these cool animations. Have you ever wondered, are games complex or they are just like a bunch of animated tools put together? So, the answer to that question is, games can be quite a complex piece of software. And to give you an analogy, if I compare games to non-gaming applications or utility software, a typical game can be looked as a combination of many different apps together. So here is an example. A typical game, not every game, a typical game, for example, like Candy Crush Saga or some other mid-core game can have these many elements. It can have the core. I'm going to talk about the core loop in a bit, but that's basically the gameplay. When you play the game, the session that you're going through. And in addition to that, it can have a dedicated in-game chat system, very similar to WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger. It could have a dedicated in-game inbox system, just like Gmail or Yahoo. It can have social systems or social networks like Facebook and Twitter, so that players can talk to each other, they can look at each other's profile, they can exchange gifts, they can help each other out. We can also have a proper e-commerce system, because a lot of games monetize by selling virtual goods, which again I'll talk about in a bit. And to do that, we have to make platforms like similar to Amazon or AliExpress, so we can merchandise stuff. And in the end, we can also have a very complex economy, because inside the games, there's so many resources players are getting as rewards, they're losing them, they can buy from the store. It mimics the economy of the natural world, the real world economy. And believe it or not, we hire actual economists to balance that economy. So it can be quite a complex piece of software, which might not look like it because we're having so much fun with it. Now, moving on, I'm going to talk about what does good game design rests on. So, in my opinion, good game design rests on 4 verticals. And game design, like any other field, is very specialized. So, of course, it is not possible to get into it, deep dive into it in just a 40-minute session. But what I'm trying to do is, I'm going to cover on a high level some of these verticals. Another thing is the impression when you're looking from outside. Like I said earlier, you guys might be thinking, is it as much fun working on games? And a lot of people think just because it has a lot of art, a lot of animation, maybe it's purely creative driven, the process of game development. That's not true. Games are as much science as they are art. And believe it or not, we are very heavily invested in analytics. We build some of the best analytics systems into our games throughout the world because that's very important for us. And we invest heavily in research. So I'm going to start with psychology today. And in this slide, I'm going to slightly touch on Skinner box. So I'm pretty sure a lot of you might know what a Skinner box is. Yeah? Or at least I've heard the term?
Yeah, it's named after the behavior.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm going to briefly explain what a Skinner box is. So Skinner box, as Manoj said, it's designed by psychologists who study how behavior is learned or how it can be learned. So it's a very simple apparatus. Imagine there's a glass cage, there's a mouse inside it, and a couple of other props like an electric bell or an electric light and a food dispenser. So the way this apparatus works is every 60 seconds, the bell will start ringing and a green light will come on for 10 seconds. Now during that 10-second duration, if the mouse hits the food dispenser, some food will fall into the cage as reward. But if the mouse tries to press the lever when the bell is not ringing or the light is not on, then no food will fall and he might also get a mild electric shock in form of a punishment. I know it sounds brutal, but that's the way it works. So the point is, as long as the cycle is repeated over a period of time, every 60 seconds, the mouse learns through trial and error that if he presses the lever, he's trained, he's conditioned, when the green light is on and the electric bell is ringing, he will be rewarded. But if he tries to do that action when those triggers are not present, he might be punished. So a simple way to look at it is, this is what the scalar box represents. Over a period of time, it forms a habit. And a habit loop has three main components. Cue, action, reward. Cues are also called external triggers. Now the external trigger in this case was the electric bell and the green light switching on every 60 seconds. Action is what the mouse does. He has to run and press the lever. And reward is the food that falls into the cage. Now, what's interesting here is, through research, it's proven what works for mice also works for men. We are not that different. we like to think that we are. It's true. So we like to think we are this evolved species, but the truth is the primitive mammalian brain works the same way as far as learning is concerned. And that's a very powerful insight. Because using that, I'm going to now talk about the code loop. So what's a code loop? A code loop is the holy grail of game design. A game cannot be called a game if it doesn't have a code loop. That's the secret. That's the first thing as game developers we try to build. Test that it's sticky, because that is what gets players, keep them coming back to the game. And you might have guessed, a code loop is nothing but an improvised scalar box. Now this is the code loop of Candy Crush Saga, the casual game I spoke about. And you can see that it exactly has three elements. So there's an external trigger. This game has something called lives. Every 30 minutes, player will get a life. So that's the cue heart graphic here. Now think of that life as a pass or a token. Using that life, you can play one session of the game. The game is very simple. It's a puzzle game. You have to match three similar looking tiles. And once the player has done that, he clears the board and he gets rewards in form of 3 stars or 2 stars and a high score. Then he has to wait 30 minutes, just like the mouse was waiting, 60 seconds, for that life to appear and he can play another session. Now, another question that can be asked is, when you were talking about the scalar box, the reward was tangible, right? It was real, because the mouse pressed the lever, he got food. It's real. Here, these are just virtual rewards. How is it more compelling than tangible rewards? The answer is, there are many reasons why virtual rewards work, but I will give you a very simple analogy. And the thing is, the human brain cannot distinguish between what is real and what is virtual, provided the immersion is strong enough. It's fully engaged. Here's an example. All of you watch movies, right? And let's say if you're watching a particularly good movie, like Forrest Gump, what happens? After a while, you start emoting, right? You go on an emotional roller coaster, you will laugh when the character laughs, and you will cry when the person or the character is going through a tragic sequence. Now, why does that happen? You know that's not real, that's a fake story, it's fiction, it's virtual, but you still start emoting. And that's exactly the reason. The brain cannot distinguish between what's virtual and what's real once it's engaged. The very same chemicals like dopamine, oxytocin that stimulate your pleasure senses or pleasure centers are released. And it's true for the pain part also, like cortisol, the steroids, which induce pain. They can be triggered easily by virtual experiences, just like real experiences, provided the immersion or the experience is strong enough. Now, this is the core loop of another mid-core game called Pokemon Go. I'm pretty sure you guys must have heard about it. It became a big sensation 2 years ago. So you can see that even Pokemon Go has a core loop, but it looks more complicated, right? There's a whole lot more happening. That is because it's complex, there are more tasks, there are more variable rewards. And if I show you an example of a hardcore game, I mean it's even way more complex, and you can see there's a loop within it. Now, interesting thing is, doesn't matter. It's a casual game or a mid-core game or a hardcore game, it has to have a core loop. Important thing here is, it has to be a closed loop. It cannot be an open-ended loop because an open loop will not form a strong pattern. So that's it about core loops, and now I'm going to talk about UX in games because it deserves a special mention. Not because I am into UX in games, but you will find it interesting that UX in games is slightly different from how UX is looked upon in enterprise software. So a lot of you in the audience today, I'm pretty sure, are either from UX field or work with UX team, right? And so I'm going to tell you how UX in games is different from utility apps or enterprise software. One of the best definitions or quotes that I found online about games UX is a game is interesting and engaging because it creates loads on user. And this is by Susan Benching. She's a very renowned behavioral psychologist, and this is a quote from one of her blogs. Now, I want you to remember this because I'm going to come back to it in a bit and talk about what I mean when I say there are loads on user. Cool. So let's talk about I shouldn't have come to this slide, but anyways, since I'm here. How is UX in games different from UX in enterprise software? Now, at a high level, what's the job of UX? At a holistic view or holistic level, what UX does is it tries to make things more accessible, usable, and intuitive for the user, right? And how do you do that? By removing friction. So what is friction? This slide is going to clear that out. Let's say there are two services and they want you to sign up for them. This service A login on the left side and service B login on the right side. Now most of us might prefer service B to service A. What is the reason for it? Service A has a lot of friction. First, there are over 10 fields to go through. So that's sort of text for me to digest. Second, it's forcing me to think. I have to recall those details. I might not be knowing them or not be comfortable recalling them, right? And third, it's wasting my time. When you want to use a service, you want to get through it as quick as possible, get past the login screen. And that's what service B is doing. It has just two fields. Connect using Facebook, Gmail, and just log in your password. So you prefer it because there's less friction and it's more intuitive to use. But when you talk about UX in games is not about erasing that friction. In games, friction is a good thing. And what we try to do is manage it. So here's an example. Let's say you're using a banking app, since we are in a bank. So this is a PayPal screen, okay? And you're trying to make a transaction and it says, we are sorry, system error, please try again later. You might be a bit bummed because you wanted to make that transaction, but you say, okay, I'll try and do it. You come back after 4-5 minutes and another error comes up. You're not trying hard enough. And as you try more, you get more and more error states. What will happen? I can guarantee you, within 5 minutes, you will delete that app, you might also change your plan, right? But compare this with what happens in games. Failure state is quite common. A player might fail not once, twice, but 10 times. Still, he will not give up. He keep coming back to it. Now, the reason for it is, imagine you're playing a game, and every time you play that game, you win. What will happen? You will get bored because it's not challenging, right? You don't need any skill when you're performing a banking operation other than reading and of course pressing buttons. But in games, you want that skill because that's what makes it interesting. So while in use case 1, in case of a utility app, if you fail often, you're going to quit the app and delete it. Reverse this to in case of games. If you don't fail often, you will quit and delete the game. And that's why UX in games is mostly about managing friction, not removing it. And now I'm going to deep dive into it. So, now I want you to recall the phrase with which we started this section. A game is engaging and interesting because it creates loads on user. So loads for us means friction. Now this is a screenshot from a very popular game called Call of Duty. It's a first-person shooter game, it's a hardcore game. And even if you don't know what an FPS game is, its premise is very simple. You're a combatant, you're pushed into a 3D world, and you have these big weapons to choose from. You can team up with other people and go on missions killing bad guys, right? Movies have the same theme, right? This is a screenshot from Predator, and to an outsider who's not playing the game, he might think, what's so hard about it? It's just a bunch of some muscle guys with big weapons, mindlessly firing at whatever is in their path. Easy, right? Not much to it. But if you ask a UX designer, there's a whole lot more going on than what meets your eye. So you have to understand that these kind of games are highly volatile, combative environments. So players basically placed in a 3D environment where he has to make split-second decisions in order to accomplish his mission. And he also has to manage all these loads. View manipulation. So imagine we have placed the player in a 3D world. So while he's on his mission, he has to maintain awareness in all directions because a target or a threat can come from any direction. There could be multiple threats. While doing view manipulation, he has to do target leading. He has to try and spot an enemy coming from far. He has to distinguish whether that's a friendly or that's an enemy fire. So he has to do that as well. While doing target leading, he has to target acquisition. That is when he spots an enemy, he has to get it in his crosshair. Just like how they do it with snipers, right? You have to get the target in crosshair. That's how you get a kill shot. While doing target acquisition, he has to do target tracking. So remember, the target is moving, it's not static. So the player himself has to course correct his position so that the target doesn't move out of the crosshair. While doing target tracking, he has to do world navigation. You can see that it's a 3D world. There are obstacles, there are pillars. Player can jump over stuff. Player can slide below stuff. Player can take cover if someone is firing at him. And while doing that, he also has to take care of UI controls. There must be some buttons on the HUD, right, of the user interface, like swapping weapons, for firing, throwing the grenade. Another metaphor we can use to sell this analogy better is, okay, seems like it's done. Yeah, no, it jumped a bit, sorry. So imagine a juggler. A juggler is performing the task of juggling. How does he do that? By throwing balls into the air. And he has to maintain an idea of, or relative awareness of position of each of the balls in the air, because that's how he can perform his job seamlessly. Each of these loads, now imagine, or balls represent one of the loads that we saw earlier. That's what a first-person shooter gamer is doing while he's playing the game, subconsciously managing all these loads. And as I said, in games, we cannot remove that load, we cannot remove that friction, we have to manage it. Two ways we do that is either by easing the load or erasing the load. And I'll give you a quick example. So this is another first-person shooter game on mobile. It's called Modern Combat 5. And there's a reason why first-person shooter games are on either PC or console, because there's so many loads that the player has to manage. Now, in one of my previous companies which worked on this game, they ported it to mobile, and over a couple of iterations they realized the only way we can ease the load is by giving the players more controls. So the game by itself ships with 3 default settings, but if player wants, there are over 5 pages and 60 custom configurations that a player can do. Here's an example. He can adjust the sensitivity of how fast he's moving in the 3D world. The player can use the device's gyroscope for moving the 3D world instead of the D-pad. There are also some AI options. For example, the player spots an enemy. Instead of him manually getting a target, which is like hard to do, the game will partially assist him. By doing all this, what we are trying to do is ease the load. By aiming, assisting him, giving him these custom configurations, we are trying to remove or reduce the magnitude of the load that's placed on him. And this is another example which a lot of UX designers might scream at, and let me get into it. So this is what the default control scheme of the game looks like when you're going on a mission. This is something the player sees 80% of the time when he's in the game. But if the player wants, he can manually move each of the buttons around, scale their size up and down, and even adjust their transparency. So in a nutshell, we are asking the player, if you want, you can reconfigure the HUD or the user interface based on your preference. Now, to UXers outside gaming, this is like breaking a cardinal rule. Which rule is that? Muscle memory, right? There's a reason why default user interface choices work. For example, let's say if you use Facebook, you know where the like button is. You know where upload photos button is. Even if your eyes are closed or even if you don't read the labels, you know intuitively because you have been doing that and that maps to your mind. So why is it that in this option, in this game, we are moving away from that cardinal rule? What we need to understand is, we are talking about hardcore players. Hardcore players spend hours trying to learn the game and work out the best combination. So what they try to do is, they try to move these things around and find the most efficient combination which works for them. For different hardcore players, different combinations will work, which means they have an advantage in split-second decision making, which they have to do in a highly combative, volatile, threatening environment. And we are seeing that it has worked great and created a lot of engagement and retention for our users.
Just an interesting thing to say there.
Sure.
What's nice about that system is you let your users decide
Yes.
what the best UI is, and
Yes.
that analytics in place, you can
Yes.
analyze which UI is the most
Exactly.
and then that can be the standard.
And you are absolutely right. And another reason we do it is, that's why these are hardcore games. When you're playing hardcore games, you have controllers, right? Physical controllers. But on mobile, you don't have that. So we need to give that flexibility. Absolutely. And so that was an example of easing loads by reducing their magnitude, by giving players a lot of options. This is an example of erasing loads. Now this is another game called Deer Hunter. It's also on mobile and it's targeted at mid-core players. Now mid-core players, as we covered earlier, are not like hardcore players. They don't want to spend that much time in games. They don't try to figure out stuff as much. So we want to make sure that we make the experience enjoyable for them. So how we do that is by erasing it. For example, in this game, the player can only move in the x-axis in the 3D world. Left 50 meters, right 50 meters. What that does is, effectively, it restricts his vision to 180 degrees. So any threat that will come will only come from the front. What does that mean? He doesn't have to bother about threat coming from behind him or even from the side, which erases some of his load. Same way, we have auto assist, less HUD options, and so on. So you can see that this is the table showing the loads. In the first example, Modern Combat 5, we maintained all these loads, just gave players more custom options to manage it better. But in terms of Deer Hunter, we erased some of these loads because we knew that it would be too much for a mid-core player. And this is how we manage load, either by easing it or erasing it. But we can never get rid of it the way it is in enterprise software or outside game. So the last section I'm going to touch on is called social triggers or social gameplay. And people always feel smarter playing with or against a real opponent. Now here's an example. Let's say if you like playing chess. Do you enjoy it more playing against a real person because you can rub it in his face after you win, or against a computer? Most of you might like playing against another real person. And that's true for online games too. It may sound like a no-brainer, but bear in mind we're talking about online games, and most of the time people are playing these games alone, either on their device or in front of the PC. So we have seen every time they believe that they're playing against another real person, the KPIs jump. So here are some of the ways we try to recreate that social game. First mode is called competitive mode. Here what the game tries to do is it tries to match one person with another person within the same game. That is pitting against each other, competition, so it's quite normal. And the way we achieve it is either by using synchronous or asynchronous. So what is synchronous gaming? Synchronous gaming is real time. Let's say I'm playing a first person shooter game and I say I want to play a session. What the game does, it goes around, sees who are the other players at this very time logged in, and it will try to then run a matchmaking algorithm. Now matchmaking algorithm is another crucial piece of gaming software. What it does is it tries to find the best match. For example, if it finds someone always who's stronger than me, that guy will defeat me every single time and I will be frustrated as I quit the game. The reverse is true. If it finds someone who is weaker than me, I win all the time and again I'll quit the game. So the matchmaking algorithm has to get it right and match these players from millions of players worldwide. So it's a very complex piece of tech. And what is the reward of social media? So of course we get virtual rewards and they work for the reason I told you. But another reason why people like to indulge in social gaming is leaderboards. So leaderboards is basically a ranking system where we show within a gaming session or within a time frame who are the top performers. So why does it work? Imagine if you're playing against a person in the chess example and you beat him. You feel good. Why? Because you feel smarter than that person. It makes you feel you are better than him. Now imagine game session is going on, there are 400,000 people playing this game. And the leaderboard says, you are in the top 5 or 10,000 people. What does that mean? You are better than 390,000 other people out there. You are better than them, smarter than them, and your mastery level is higher in this game. So that one does wonders for your ego, and we are social animals. So social pride, vanity matrix, whatever you call it, this is a good example of it. And that's why it works. The second way we achieve social gameplay or social triggers is cooperative. Here what the game tries to do is, it tries to place a bunch of people in a single group, which we call alliance in gaming terminology. An alliance can have 10 people or 50 people. So here people do the opposite of competing, they cooperate. And what they do is they can give and receive help, they can do trading of goods. And what the game does is, it gives them a big enough goal. So let's say if I'm a player and playing on my own, I can generate 20 points at the end of the day. The game says, generate 200 points within 24 hours. Now I know that I can't do it alone, but if I work with 10 people out there, I will achieve it, right? And these groups are not linear. There's another reason. They have a hierarchy. So the guy who creates the alliance is called the leader. Then there is the sub-leader, rank 1, rank 2, rank 3, and each rank has privileges. For example, as a leader, I can promote people, I can demote people, I can kick them out, I can also invite others. And that's a pretty powerful place to be in. So it creates an intrinsic motivation to work and rank up. But why does social gameplay work? Earlier I said core loop is what makes it successful. So how does social gameplay come into it? I'll show you. So again, going back to this Candy Crush Saga example, we covered that, let's say I get a life, which is like my pass. I play one session of the game, I earn virtual rewards, and then I have to wait 30 minutes before I get another life. But what if there was a way to bypass that? What if I could ask my friends in the game who are online at that point in time, hey, can you send me a life? And every person in the game can send one life to every other player. And if that happens, I don't have to wait 30 minutes. I can immediately start playing the game. Now imagine, more friends you have, more lives you get. That means more bypassing you can do. So this way, by enmeshing social gameplay into the core loop, we make it even more interactive, even more engaging. And this is another third example. This is both cooperative and competitive combined. So you can see that there's a blue team going against a purple team, but this blue team is an alliance. These people cooperate with each other, but now they are pitted against each other, right? So this is another way to achieve social gameplay. And these are the benefits, like I covered. It creates more engagement. We've seen it in our KPI. It creates more virality, because if you're playing against other people, you're more likely to talk about it to your friends, right? Because you want to compete against them or you want their help, as you saw in the life example. There's social dynamics, as we saw. The groups are not linear. And it also boosts monetization. So this is a very clever way. What some of the games do is, let's say I'm an alliance and I spend real money buying a virtual good. Not only will I get that virtual good, everybody in my alliance will either get that exact good or a small percentage. So what happens is, it makes me look benevolent. Other people in the group thinks, hey, this guy is great. He's spending not just for his own benefit, but for everybody else. And again, what you are creating is social pride, social gravity matrix. And that's why it's effective. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the presentation. Few takeaways. Every game needs a sticky, successful core loop. Without it, the game cannot work. This is the first thing we need to test for and validate that it works before we move on to anything else. Game UX is all about managing friction, as we saw, at least slightly before, from how it is done outside. We cannot totally remove the load, remove the friction, we have to manage it. And social gameplay drives great engagement, and there are various ways using competitive, cooperative modes that you can achieve it. Thank you very much, and if there's time for questions, I will be happy to take.
That's a very short applause. Again. I think if you look at it, Om has put a lot of work into it. He's a master in his profession. I can see how everything is through it. By the way, if you want your social rank, get other friends to join our meetup. But honestly, are there any questions before we move? Because we do have a very tight schedule. We've got 2 minutes for a couple of questions. Any questions?
And you said or something just happened and I didn't catch what you said.
Oh, so what I said was, if it was an open-ended loop,
Yeah.
then it breaks that replay.
Because,
Reputation.
yeah, so reputation is what creates habit. That's why we always want it. Never.
So, any other feedback? Did you guys enjoy it? Have you got a dash or are you going to hang on?
I'm going to hang on.
All right, fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Jeff? So let me introduce you to Joe and Stacy. Joe originally went to Trinity, and then he left for shores further away. But I suppose he's been drawn back, and we're very lucky that he and his wife decided to come back to us and present. So let me have
Thank you very much. My wife will cue up the audio issues here. Yeah, Stacy and I, we kind of have we start ourselves as a sort of cottage industry, digital entrepreneurship. Okay, so basically, if digital will do it. It's, we have, he's got a strong finance background and a strong programming background, so we've done stuff, in mobile, and stuff recently in voice, we were talking about today. We've also done things like 3D printing. Ultimately, these things also distill down to content. So that's kind of what we do. We kind of sort of between Stacy's world, the quant person, and I'm more of the qual person. So we're going to start with her, going over some stuff about voice and who we want to be. I think first she wants to.
You all are in
I assume all of you know what Alexa is, right? So Toyota just announced that they're adding Alexa to their cars so you can control things with your voice. It's supposed to be convenient and helpful. Here's their commercial.
Starting this year, Toyota and Lexus luxury models will come with Amazon Alexa.
Alexa, turn on the AC.
Turning on AC.
Finally, a virtual assistant to help you navigate.
Alexa, where's the nearest gas station?
Nearest gas station in 1.5 miles.
And to help maintain your vehicle.
Alexa, order more brake pads.
Ordering new brake pads, although maybe if you didn't stop so close to the car in front of you.
I left plenty of room.
You drive too aggressively.
If you were just quiet for 2 seconds, 2
She'll
seconds.
talk to you literally the entire time you're driving.
I think you should have turned back there.
I know where I'm going!
Hi, you know why I pulled you over?
No, officer,
Because we were driving 72 miles per hour.
Anything else I should know?
2 miles back, we rolled through a stop sign without coming to a red stop. Also, there are illegal fireworks in the trunk.
Sir, may you sit with the car, please?
Amazon Alexa. You'll never get away from it.
Sticky.
So that's how most people think of voice at this point. It should be a device, maybe a little creepy, maybe it's in your face. Amazon Alexa, Google Assistant, using the Echo, using the show, using the home. But that's not all voice is. Voice can come to you not just through a virtual assistant or voice assistant, we'll use them interchangeably, but they can come to you through a mobile device. They can come to you through a voice-enabled website. As soon as we build a website, it should be.
Stacy, could you use the mics?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. And let's go. Just give us a second. This is what happens when you go on second. Silence. So is everyone from Dublin? No? Where are you from? Yes? No? Anyone else outside of Ireland? Yes. Where are you from? That's a ways. That's ways. Do you like it? That's good. It speaks well. Right. Okay. Excellent. So that's typically what voice app is in sort of the public consciousness. But let me back up a little bit and give you a little quiz. What industry is predicted to grow 1,000% by 2023? Is it Brexit smuggling? See, we're American, we have to make these jokes. Is it, don't worry, it's coming. Production of baby flump entrails. Or is it voice technology? Any show of hands? If you've guessed all three, you're right. So, what is voice? Voice is an audio-only interface. It is a new way of interfacing with technology. It is a means of two-way communication between a person and a digital system. We've talked about Alexa, we've talked about Google Assistant, we haven't talked about Siri or Watson. These are also means for doing it. But the key take home here is that voice doesn't have to come to you by these ways you're traditionally thinking about that are so present in public consciousness. They can come to you through a voice-enabled website or through a voice-enabled mobile device. Who has an Android phone? Yeah. If you are operating system 5.0 or higher, you actually have Google Assistant on your phone. You may not even be aware of it. But if you say, okay, Google. It didn't try for anyone? All right. Usually it works. Okay.
Cell phone mockery.
I don't know what the first one's to be when I ask. Yeah, I just
Anyway, voice can come to you through various means, and you probably already have access to it right now. So, we're here because voice is huge, because the potential of this market is enormous. Now, I can just stand here and say this to you, but I don't particularly have any more credibility than, say, Vader Meeker, who is in the internet's age, or the next 5 slides, which I will go through very fast, and then we all have time for the friends who don't know to. Let's do this. Mary Brood Meeker, she wrote in her internet trend, she showed, she's trying to show basically a hockey stick, right? Straight up to 2024, a CAGR of nearly 35%. Impressive. And if you look a little closer, you can see all the different industries she's talking about. It's not just smartphone. Here in PC World, referencing Juniper study, 1000% 2023. And Statista, they're a little bit more aggressive, 2021, 16 billion, that's 16 billion US. Do you do billions like UK, or do you do billions like US? Europe, okay, sorry. Moving right along, next slide. This is IHS Market. I love these guys. They seem really staid and kind of, wonky, but this is them really excited. So it's 4 billion devices in 2017. How many people are on the Earth? 7 billion?
10 billion. 9?
That's a lot of devices. That's enormous. That's a huge market. Yeah. So, last slide, I think. And not only is the market broad, but it will also go deep. This is TechCrunch, referencing another study. 55% of US households by 2022 will have some sort of smartphone device. So, how do we take advantage of this? What is the perfect design use case? What is a great voice experience? How do you get on a pathway to success? What is a perfect design experience? This is a perfect design experience. Yes, Homer Simpson. I'm sitting on the couch with my beer and I want to ... Or at least that's smartphone. You can do it, again, trying to emphasize the fact that you can access it by a mobile device, a voice assistant, or a voice-enabled website. Don't jump, Homer's beer. Did I mention hands-free, eyes-free? Big in the industry. You don't need a keyboard, you don't need a screen. You can do whatever you're doing, or you can be working on something else on another clean screen, another keyboard, and toss out a command to your shoulder. Think about this more systematically. I usually break things down into three groups, 3 domains. Where can you be successful? Where do we need the innovation? Where is the UX lacking? The first is Internet of Things, right? You control Wi-Fi enabled devices to turn on lights or control the air conditioning or raise your garage door or what have you. Slide, or do your slide thing, what you make your partner do for you because you're going to drop it. You can do it in terms of information flow, that you can actually use voice to control the flow of information. You can share information, you can access information, you can act on information, and I'll go into more detail in the next slides. And the third, which is a little bit controversial, is what I call knowledge worker, this idea of brain training, that if a picture conveys 1,000 words, what do you have with voice, right? It's more of a linear experience. You have to do more with hierarchies, you have to do more searching, you have to be clever about how you can teach your users when to look for information and how to look for information and what to learn. You have to be clever about what information you deliver because you've got such a finite amount. You can't say the same thing over and over again, otherwise you'll lose them. You have to keep track of how often they've heard something and monitor it and limit it. So, let's go into this. So I stole this lovely, can you see this? Can you read this? All right. This is from Beecham Research, and they are trying to go through all the different industrial needs, professional needs for IoT. And they break it down by buildings, energy, consumer and home, healthcare, life sciences, industrial, transportation, retail, security, public safety, IT, and networks. A lot of stuff. Now, technically, anytime you have an IoT system, you can hook that up to a voice system. You can use voice to enable it. The question is, when, why, and does it make sense? But let me dig into this a little bit. IT networks, then it goes into basically, it calls it application groups and locations. What they're talking about is the function, how you would actually use it, and the device that would come through. In each of these cases, you could use voice. That's a lot of opportunity. Each of these industries doesn't have voice skills inside. They're going to need to either buy it, or they're going to need to build it. This is an opportunity for you. And more to the point, we see real potential where if you try to make suites of different products working together, solutions, how well are they going to work together within themselves? They need someone else to come inside and show them how to be innovative, show them how to put things together, be innovative about user interfaces, about solving problems, and what have you. So, next slide, please. Second domain, information flow. Again, you can use voice to access or act on or share information. This first category, information lookup, is what most applications, voice applications, currently focus on. It's basically, you ask a question, it queries a database, it gives you back your answer. Done. Easy to write, templates out there. Easily replicated, no barriers to entry. Very, very hard to make money or be innovative. That's less true when you get to concierge services, which is what we mostly do. A concierge is like a gateway or a broker. You use it to ask for services or to order goods. To say, I want an appointment, I want to order brake pads, what have you. The third is direct communication. You can actually use a voice system to set up a phone call or a conference call. You can use it to do an intercom, to talk between rooms or between distances or houses that have been linked. And the third is indirect communication, where you can actually use voice to tap into, say, a productivity tool, like Slack. I speak to my application, the application sends the message to Slack, Slack delivers it to my friend or my coworker offline. And the big thing to remember with information is that it is very bad with, that's okay. It's very bad with dictation. So anytime you need like a string of numbers or letters, it's got a terrible job of that. We definitely need innovation where it comes to that. Third and final one is knowledge workers. Now, Joe and I disagree on this. But I have a microphone, so I get to win. So, how do I explain this? So, a picture conveys 1,000 words. If you just have voice, you as the listener have to work a lot harder. You have to fill in the gaps. You have to read between the lines, see the gaps, and intuit what else. You have to build the picture. You have to build the model. And that involves firing neurons, that involves building neurons, that involves creating a different model. It's a different way of interacting. It's a higher level of engagement. So, all due respect to all of the video games that are out there, they're all lovely. But voice is different. Voice makes you work for it. I usually use the example of a game we have called Mind Maze. We actually developed it so that we could test some code for a client. What it is it's a maze you walk through. It's a two-dimensional maze. And all of your cues, you don't get a screen. You get audio cues, you have to remember how you went through until you find the answer, until you master the two-dimensional maze. And then you get to go to the three-dimensional maze. And then you get to go to the four-dimensional maze. And then you get to go to the five-dimensional maze. Who do you think the best players of Mind Maze are in the world?
Children. Blind people.
What? Blind people. That's it. Members of the visually impaired community. They are hands down better at this than anyone. They are better at coming up with a mental model for how to navigate this world that you cannot represent visually because it doesn't exist. Best in the world, by far. But members of the visual community can start to develop these skill sets, and we've seen this over time. People get better at it. They get to fourth dimensional, first they freak out because it's 4 dimensions, and then they start to learn, and then they start to grow. These are capacities that would not otherwise be built except for the fact that you are using a voice-only interface. I can also make this case for, we have game problem-solving games like Six Swords and Starlings and Civil War and what have you. And it's the same sort of thing, where you're getting a little bit of information and you have to navigate, but it's a different kind of problem solving. And I can also say, point you to all sorts of word games or audio games that are online. They do the same sort of thing. So, but, let me recap. Voice has a tremendous opportunity. There are 3 main ways you can have a voice experience: through a virtual assistant or a voice assistant, a mobile-enabled website, or through a voice-enabled mobile application. And with that, I will give it over to Joe to tell you about how you can choose between using each of these.
I think this one's too.
I thought you were going to sing now. Do it.
You don't want that. You don't want that. Though I will try to, I overran because of a slight confusion between 24-hour and 12-hour time. I overran, I think, an hour last year. I'm going to try not to do this, but if I start to throw things at me, tell me to get on with it. So, Stacey's given sort of a number of the compelling stats for why voice will be important in some of the sort of bigger and broader categories. I'm a developer, so I get down to the nitty-gritty. I kind of want to give you some sort of tangible places you can go with this. Okay, so you can walk out of here thinking, you say, oh wow, voice is going to be great. What do I do with it? And then we can let that down. The number one thing is we saw a lot of UX people here. That's great. Delivering value. Okay. A lot of the time, like I said, voice is very big. People read these reports, and maybe you're here because you've heard about this. And people say, we got to be in voice. We need a voice out, etc., like that. I mean, this has happened before. It happens with mobile. It happened before that with web. And people were saying, we've got to be on the web. We've got to be on the web, without stopping to ask themselves, what value does that give? Just the other day, I was on the web. We're staying nearby, and my kids sort of like were, oh, when was the Georgia Street Arcade built? And I'm like, I don't know, let's ask the internet. We found it, they have a lovely website, they have a bit of history of it, and their news page extolled how they're embracing social media, and they've now got free Wi-Fi in the place, and their most recent update was dated 2012. But they got there, they got on the web, but one could say they're probably not getting the most value out of that investment. Okay, so the number one thing to ask yourself is, how is this going to deliver value to my company, to myself, to my clients, whoever it is that you're working for? So, I'm going to break this down into, as she said, different ways to do voice. Most people are thinking about this, okay, the virtual assistants, voice assistants, I keep making that mistake. These little hardware devices that we talk to, they talk back. And they've done a great job of articulating the value of this medium. Okay, people think, oh yeah, I saw that commercial for Echo or something like that. And now it's in people's consciousness. But it is not the only way to deliver value through voice. And I do agree with all of these graphs going off the top about the importance of voice going forward. I don't, and I would like to put that into your minds, that this does not necessarily mean these devices. This means voice in general. Okay, so but we're going to start with voice assistants. So this is a new field, and you may be getting these sort of like the pressure to like, we need a sort of voice app. So what's the right sort of thing that can deliver value here? Well, one of the things they're good at is interactive solutions. Okay, in the brief demo there's a back and forth. Okay, it gets a little fantastical because it's a comedy routine. But in general, that's how these things work. It's a conversive interface. You talk to it talks back to you, and you go back and forth like that. If you have a problem set that does well with an interactive solution, voice is something that might work. Another thing is these devices are almost all in a casual setting. Okay, Homer Simpson sitting on the couch. Like I said, a great use case that it starts with, I'm sitting on the couch drinking a beer and I want to blah blah blah. You've got a good candidate for one of these things. Okay, they're domestic situations. They're used casually. There's been a bit of attempts to get them in a business environment. Alexa has announced, or Amazon has announced Alexa for Business. Hasn't really caught on that much, and I think there are systematic reasons that that's not necessarily going to be a big thing. But you can ask me questions if you're interested in that later. So, in general, if your use case is something that's casual or domestic, that's also something to think about. It's also important if it's something that's not core. Okay, if it's like while you're doing something else, you want to know about something or you want to do something else. Homer's lying on his couch. He doesn't want to get up to turn the light on. He uses his voice to do it or something like that. If you're in the middle of something else. A bit like this sort of the casual games. It's like, oh yeah, this is not your primary activity. It's a secondary activity. Voice can be good because it's eyes-free, hands-free. Okay? You could be working on your computer or looking at something else or having a conversation with somebody and you can ask a question, do your interaction, and come back out of it again like that. Those are good use cases where a voice assistant is a good choice. What they're not so good at is data entry. Okay? If the operation you want to perform that adds value to your business or enterprise is something that requires them to enter an email address or something like that, voice is not good for that. Do not try to dictate an email address to voice. Just don't go. One of our early apps was trying to track UPS packages, which had a 13-digit alphanumeric character. It's not good at that. Okay, it's just not a good use case. The other thing is that if you're on voice, you kind of stay on voice. It's hard to transition to a different medium. Okay, so if you want to use this to drive activity to your website, this is probably not the best way to do it. Okay, because it's hard to go from talking to something to having your browser come up with an email address or something like that. So collecting email addresses for a newsletter or directing somebody to site is probably not the best use case here. If that's the value you want to deliver, a voice assistant is not the best for them. Okay, so there's some good things to do with the voice assistant specifically. There's some things that doesn't work so well. So let's look at our next one, which is voice-enabled websites. Okay, now if you're representing any sort of commercial entity or even a private entity, you probably have a website. If that was the first one that everybody must have. Even the Georgia Street Arcade has a website. It's not a very good one, it's not a very up-to-date one, but they have a website. So, if you've got it, it's already there. If you're trying to deliver value, you must have it for some reason that you believe delivers value, because you have to pay for its upkeep or its, adding new elements to it, etc., like that. So, it's kind of a lower bar in the sense that voice just has to add more value. Okay, so look at what you've got there. Think about the website and try to work out, okay, how would voice enable us to add more value here? There's a couple of immediate scenarios that pop to mind. One is that voice is modeless. Okay, one of the reasons it's popular with the Internet of Things is you don't have to navigate through a menu structure to get to what you want. You just say what it is. Okay. In the same sense, if you have a very complex website that maybe has 200 pages, 3 levels of navigation. Clicking through all of that or typing in something from a search bar and selecting results will take more time than being able to say, hey website, I want to go to the contact page, or I want, if you can identify uniquely by some name the different pages in your site, your voice can take you straight there. That's one element. Another obvious element is more and more support sites are bringing in online chatbots, okay, where it's like you want support, you can either fill in a form and somebody will get back to you in 6 years or something, or you can get off online chat supports and you can actually talk to somebody in real time, or more often sit in the queue for a while and then talk to somebody in real time. But some of them are bringing up chat bots, okay, where instead of talking to a person, you talk to a small artificial intelligence thing that can answer basic questions. Well, moving from that to a voice chatbot is pretty tricky. If you've already got the investment in something that can take text-based questions and then give you sort of an answer and say, was that right or not? Making that voice is pretty easy, okay, and it's a good step. Some of the ways it's a little more natural for somebody to use because they might take time to type or whatever, but they can just say it, they get something. And another benefit of being on the website is if you need to do a transition to something else, saying, okay, did that answer your question? No, it's like, well, I'm not sure I can answer your question. Let me hook you up with a real person. You can do that. Or, can I take your email address so I can do something? Well, they're right there at the computer anyways. They're talking to you, they can move to typing it. Okay, that's a handy thing. If you want to go mixed modal, use voice for the bits that voice is good at, use data entry for the bits that voice is not good at, you have that option on the web page. One of the problems with voice enabling a website is they're doing it through their computer or maybe their phone or something else. Okay, you don't know what sort of microphone they have, even if they have a microphone, okay, or what sort of speakers they have. But with the hardware devices, it's a given, and it's all built into the heuristics of how the system works and all of that, so you get consistent quality. The website, you don't always know. So you have to factor that in, that whatever you do can't be primal, it has to be supplementary. Okay, that it can add value to your site, but it can't be the core operation of it, because they just might not be able to do it if they don't have the right hardware. The other thing is we don't have standards for this yet, or as rather, HTML5 came up with standards, and I don't think anybody's followed those. We did look them up, and they're out there or whatever, but there's not really, okay, press, a lot of these they have press to talk buttons and stuff like that, but there's no kind of ubiquitous, here's how you do it. So you kind of have to train your users on the site, that voice is there, and then how to use it. So that's another thing to consider when looking at voice enabling a website. So the last one we have is mobile devices, okay? And this is, really good. It's kind of like the middle ground for all of these, okay? First of all, when you're looking at it in terms of what does it save you on a web page, or I said if you have a complex web page navigation, okay, you need 60 to 100 pages for this to make sense. On a mobile, it's like 8 pages, even more than 8 pages in your website, then navigation is a problem. Because screen real estate is much more valuable on a mobile device. There's so much less of this. You have to be really, really svelte in how you use it. Okay, now we've got little standards, little sort of hamburger, you press it, stuff pops out, and stuff like that. But voice navigation has much better potential for enhancing a user's use of the site at that point. Once they become a little familiar with it, something pops up and says, hey, by the way, you can get here in the future by saying, blah, blah. That's even more beneficial on mobile. The other thing is that all of our mobile platforms have built-in speech-to-text and text-to-speech. Okay, they already have, for all the jokes about autocorrect and stuff like that, we can already dictate to these devices. It's built into the things, and they can speak back to you. So that hurdle is there. It's not necessarily as high quality as this, but if you gauge your solution correctly, it can be of sufficient quality. So that's another good advantage there. The other thing, much like the websites, you can do your mixed modal thing if you want to go from talking to it, or actually, sorry, this point here is you can transition. The one thing it's harder to do on a website is go to the hands-free, eyes-free mode. Okay, because usually you have like a sort of a press-to-talk thing, because they're not always listening the way one of these hardware devices is. But a phone, you have more of an option. Okay, they can start like using the mobile app as a mobile app. Get to the point where you say, okay, that's great. Now I want to transition to hands-free mode. Say, for example, the classic example that they use for a lot of these things is a recipe lookup. It's like, okay, I want to look up a recipe. Well, the mode where you're choosing what recipe you want to pick, that's kind of, you want to be there, you're sorting and searching, you're typing in search strings, you're really going to be hands-on for that. But when you get to the bit where you've got, your arms deep in flour and, the blender's going and stuff like that, it's much handier to just transition, put it down, and say, okay, what's the next ingredient, and talk to it, okay? And then if you need to go back and look something else up, you can dust your hands off and back to mode. It's easy to transition between the two. And the other advantage is with most of these hardware devices, they only listen for a short amount of time. Privacy is a huge concern. It takes a lot of PR to get somebody to put an always listening device in your home all the time. There's plenty of reasonably justified concerns about personal privacy there. With a mobile phone, you don't have to go with their limits. Okay, these will only listen for like 8 seconds. If you don't answer in 8 seconds, they drop the line. Okay, which is fine for many things, but there are many things we'd like it to listen longer. The mobile app, you can just leave it listening. Okay, you can be a broadcast that it's listening. Choose your way to show that it's listening, or the user can, because they're opting into a single app listening, it's less of a privacy concern. Or this can listen all the time and you're not quite sure what is, if it's hearing what it's doing. That's more of a privacy concern. So that's a good bit about mobile. On the problem side, you have, again, similar problems to web in the sense of, we don't have conventions for these things yet. We don't have like, oh, this special icon is for that. You're going to have to invent that and teach people how to do that. And knowing that it can do, like I said, space is a big premium in a mobile screen. You can't have these little flat out things like that. But, there's other solutions you can find for this. You just need to take those things. So even audio cues to say, hey, by the way, next time you can say,
Google is always listening.
it's creepy. Oh, we'll talk about security next. Okay. So that's kind of that in a nutshell. Okay. Hopefully, I've given you some tangible things to chew on, to think about. If you look at your current solutions and think how voice will enable them, or if you're thinking about doing something, I hope that you have a little more wrenches and screwdrivers to work out whether voice is a good solution for you or not. I mean, I think there's a lot to be had there, but I think it has to be used right. Otherwise, we're going to end up with a lot of voice apps like the Georgia Street Arcade website that just kind of sit there. They got there, but did it deliver value? Is there more investment?
We're right at the beginning. I think that's the key take home is that just as people had to figure out that you need a navigation bar, or you need a search bar, or you need to put the address at the bottom, we haven't even got that with voice. We need help, and there's tremendous opportunity.
Okay, yeah, I think we just have some references on the next slide, and then there's Q&A after this. Instead of putting a big sign up as this Q&A, we'll leave these here, and a bunch of things you could dump into now, but we'll just open the floor to questions.
Any questions, first of all?
I'm just wondering there, you were talking about privacy and Google always listening and things. A lot of people are talking about the moment that Facebook and Instagram are potentially listening to conversations because people swear that they've never put in a search query to search for, we'll say, I don't know, a microphone, and they might have been talking about a microphone, and next thing you see ads everywhere when you don't remember having Googled anything or talked about it on the phone. Just your opinion on that maybe, or do you think it's possible?
I think the Occam's razor approach is it's more likely to be computer telepathy than voice recognition. And I'm not being facetious by that. What I mean is they watch everything you do. Okay, I've used one app, gone to here, then suddenly these ads come up and stuff like that. And as an engineer, that's much simpler to do than to try to listen to you and understand what you're saying, because again, you're not directly talking to these devices, they have a hard time really understanding what you're saying. So trying to record hours and hours of audio and then trying to parse information out of that is a huge compute-intensive task. So I don't think they're listening to us and doing stuff like that. I think everything it hears and understands, it tracks and uses that to catalog you, just like everything you type into the Google search bar. But and that's probably a bigger concern. And they wonder, I love Europe, it has GDPR, it's just one of the most reasonable set of laws I've ever seen. I know opinion differs here. But speaking reflective of Americans, like, my God, I wish we had that legislation.
Sorry, what is it about interpreting the 13-digit number?
Well, first, it only listens for a certain amount of time. And what if you get a digit wrong? It's largely it's a UX problem. So I'm like, okay, it's like 14758AXZ12962. It's like, all right. Well, first, again, if you write this app, you say, okay, say what your number is. The way you say the number, and say, okay, this is what I heard. Boom, 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 boom. It's like, is that right or wrong? And you say it's wrong, and it's like, say the whole number again. It's like, that's a problem. I mean, the most successful I got was like, okay, tell me the first 3 digits. 1, 2, 3. Say, I heard 1, 2, 3. If that's correct, tell me the next 2 digits, otherwise say it's wrong. And that was the best I could do. You know, and I mean, in the end I said it was too complicated. And that just, this is not it.
You haven't taught it how to say "huh" yet. You haven't taught it how to say "huh."
Yeah, it doesn't know how to say. But even when it says "huh," it's like, okay, well, what did you get? I mean, one of the very frustrating things is that when you talk to it and it gets it wrong, it says say that again. When you say it again, it usually gets it wrong the same way. You know, a human listens and understands, like, okay, listens harder to the bits they didn't get, okay, and knows that what they guessed last time was wrong. They haven't got there yet.
Sorry. You said that the future of Alexa, why are you doubting it will be the next big thing?
I don't think audio assistants will be, okay, because, you know, they've been very popular, but if you look at it, it's tethered in one place. Okay, it's sitting there, you know, and it is, I often say they're one lawsuit away from oblivion, okay? You know, in the sense that, you know, if it hears something it's not supposed to hear, or something else happens to it like that, you know, it's a hard sell to get an always listening device sitting in a domestic setting listening to you all the time, okay? So they have kind of a bit of vulnerability there, okay? Secondly, it listens to everything, okay, and then you're trying to cram on all sorts of different functionality to this for third parties. It's difficult. Amazon is adding functionality on their own terms, at their own rate. Same with Google, okay? Which is like Siri. Siri doesn't have third-party stuff, okay? So Google and Amazon have a leg up on Siri that they add these third-party, but they're not very easily integrated in, okay? And then when they're there, they have to coexist with all of these other apps and possibly step on each other's toes, and then you get people fighting from there. Whereas the other stuff, like a mobile app or a website, you're already in a single person's domain, okay? So you already have captured their attention for that. And you can convey, essentially since you convey all of it, you own all of it, you can establish your own conventions, and the whole verbal domain is yours. Okay, so that's why I think that, you know, these are nice, they keep things off, but I'm not sure that, you know, when we get to one device for every other person on the planet, that they're all going to be these. Personally, so, could be wrong.
Do you have any opinions on where the computing should be done?
On
where the computing should be done going forward? Do we need to get a lot more signal processing on the handheld device, or I think in the early days with Siri, it was all sent back up, and there's latency issues there. And if there's huge growth in this market, there may be server latency issues. Too many people using it.
So before I step on this gentleman's toe. So the question is, where should we process the voice? That when we're doing speech to text, we can process it on the device that hears it, or we can process it up on the net. In general, your mobile devices tend to process it on the device. The hardware devices tend to stream it up to the net. Okay. Typically in voice, what I say is quality is king. Okay, that unless you've got a good understanding of what somebody has said, you haven't got a good app. Okay, like the voice assistants, they're pretty good. They're like 90-95% accurate, which sounds amazing. But that means that 1 word in 10 is wrong. Okay, you know, I've had a number of ideas I've just had to ditch because that's actually not good enough. Okay, because it's like the number. You know, if you say a sentence and 1 word is wrong, it's really hard to edit that. You know, when you're autocorrecting your phone, you can just move the cursor back and fix the word. You know, or just let it go. I'm pedantic, so I just go and fix it. But so quality is king. Okay, better voice app if you have a better quality. Right now, for most of it, if you're in a high traffic zone, being able to send it to a server and being able to use the assets of a server to do, you know, big crunching and interpretation of that voice stuff and comparing to other heuristics and all big data sort of fun stuff tends to be much better than being on the actual device. Okay, so we are seeing a lot of that. I think if we're going to hit, you know, half the population of the Earth, you know, we're probably going to be more in zones where you don't have high-speed internet. Okay, and we might see a resurgence of more local processing. Okay, but that again, what we'll see is, you know, where you got a lower quality, what you'll have is a tighter verbal domain. Okay, it's like, you know, the voice apps first started out on the phone. It's like, you know, press or say 1. You know, if we're going to force the computation to be local, it's probably going to be that. So they might recognize, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, things like that. And you'll put more of a menu system rather than a, you know, tell me how you're feeling today sort of thing. Does that make sense?
I worry much less about signal and delays like that than I worry about context. That these systems are still not getting context like a human being would. Joe referred to that earlier. Unless you can sort of sense the flow of the conversation and have an idea of where it might be going, you're not going to be able to keep up. That's where the bottleneck is.
Where are we with personal context training at the moment?
We are in the domain of people with doctorates. Okay, I've had this discussion with somebody on there. There's a great, into Alexa development or even Google, there's a great Slack channel that there's a lot of these fun conversations take place in. But the problem is good advanced NLP, natural linguistic processing.
Natural
language processing.
Natural language processing. You know, to get beyond this really simple stuff, you kind of have to have a doctorate of linguistics, and you have to have, a neural network controlling it all, which is kind of how the back end works. Okay, and that's so advanced as to not be really accessible to third-party programmers. And this is some of the emphasis where they're sort of kind of like little add-ons to these things, and the user, like 97% of users never use third-party apps, they just stick with the core stuff, because they can be that smart, because they own the whole platform. Where we have to go to see that move out of that is we have to come up with something in between. Additional logic can be added, but still tap into the deep core processing that you don't need a doctorate to be able to add to it. And that has to evolve there. I should be working on a white paper about that, but it's this close to it.
Actually, if you have a doctorate, Google is hiring.
Any more questions? Okay, we'd like to ask a little favor of you. First of all, these events wouldn't happen without a lot of hard work and organization. So I'd like you to acknowledge that John's always here, Ryan, David, Julitza. Without them, and of course Bank of Ireland, you wouldn't have an event like this. And of course the speakers. So could I get a big hand from you for another thing that we would really love is a group photo. So those of you who aren't too shy, could you come here and we'll just take a group photo?